I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you some of the things that I've learned. I did one demonstration and a man came up to me and said, "What makes you an authority on these things?" And I said, "I'm not an authority, but I'm a mother of 8 children that wants to be prepared. And I believe the Lord has given me many experiences to help me realize the importance of it. I believe the beginning of my preparation was in 1970 when my husband and I went to Tonga for 3 years. We knew the Woodburys there, and it was one of the greatest experiences of our life. But 7 months after we got there, I had a baby born there, and I could write a book about that experience. Couldn't we, Mona? It was really, really amazing. And the thing I learned so much during those 3 years was how grateful I was to live in the United States, because we are so blessed. We have so much. The people in Tonga are a third world country, and they're wonderful, beautiful people. And a lot of people say, well, that's a third world country. We wouldn't have those problems. But you know, if we lost our utilities, we could be in the same situation as the people over there. We're very blessed because we have so much. But I just want to share with you some things that I learned. While we were in Tonga, we had to boil our water every day. One day my husband said, "I don't think we need to boil the water. I'm not going to drink boiled water today." So he didn't, and he got sick. Well, I never one day went without boiling my water, because we had a custodian that would clean the water tanks behind each of our homes. My husband taught school for the church over there at Liahona. And one day my husband asked the custodian, "Why do you clean the water tanks so often?" And he says, "Well, we have to get the dead birds and rats out of the water you drink." And he was serious. And we saw cockroaches this big. First time I saw those, I wanted to scream. But, you know, after 3 years, we wanted to stay 3 more years. We love the people of Tonga. And so it was not a sacrifice, because whenever you do what the Lord wants you to do, He blesses you. And this is the thing that I've learned. But the Lord has given me experiences throughout my life to teach me the importance of being prepared. After we were in Tonga for 3 years, we came home to Taylorsville, and we lived in our home on Huntington Road for 18 years. So we lived in your stake for a long time. And I was called to be homemaking leader in that ward. And the Relief Society president said, "I want you to pray and ask the Lord what classes we should teach for homemaking night." And so I did, and I kept getting the prompting, emergency preparedness. And so she said, "Okay, we will have a class every month on that subject." So the very first month, we had the Red Cross come and speak to us on earthquakes. You know, we've heard for years that we're overdue for an earthquake. And so this man that spoke to us from the Red Cross had been to Japan when they had their earthquake, the last one. And he told us, he says, "I don't care how much food and water you have, the number one most important thing is sanitation. More people die after a disaster than during. And if you don't have proper sanitation, you will be sick, and you won't be worrying about how much food you've got." And so I said to him, I raised my hand and I said, "Well, if sanitation is so important, do you have a sanitation kit we could put together?" And he said, "Oh, just get a bucket and throw some things in." And he named a few things. And I went home that night and I thought, boy, if it's that important, I am going to make a sanitation kit. So I put together a sanitation kit after I had done a lot of praying, because I asked the Lord to help me, because I didn't know what to put in the sanitation kit. But the first thing I did is I went to a janitorial supply store And I told them what I wanted to make, and they told me some things that we needed to have. And this is my sanitation kit that I made. It's a 6-gallon plastic bucket with 11 items inside. Now, I have a paper that I tell everything that's in it. Of course, toilet paper is one of the most important things in there. Rubber gloves. These are garbage bags to line it with. And this is a bathroom cleaner to clean your toilet, and it can kill HIV, tuberculosis, and salmonella germs. They told me that if you can get a cleaner that can kill those germs, it pretty well will get any germ that you have. And then the most important thing, this is called Super Sorb, and it looks like sawdust. You just put a tablespoon of it in the plastic bag, and it expands and turns everything into a gel. So if you had, say, 2 gallons worth of liquid, it would just turn it into a gel, so it would be very light. But the thing that's so good about it is it takes away the toxins and the smell, and it gives you a lemon scent. Now, if you talk to the people in Haiti, what's their biggest problem? The smell. I mean, dead bodies, dead animals, just sickness. And I read in the newspaper just a couple of days ago that the biggest problem in Haiti right now is sanitation and rehydration. So many people are dehydrated. I've had so many people say to me, well, it wouldn't happen here. If we had a problem like that, the church would drive up in trucks and take care of us. Not true. We are expected to take care of ourselves. It is not the church's responsibility. It's not anyone else's. This is our responsibility. We are to be prepared, and we've been told for years how to be prepared. The other items I put in are paper towels, baby wipes, baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, and white distilled vinegar. Now, when I was putting this kit together, I had an overwhelming feeling I should put baking soda and white distilled vinegar in there, and I wasn't sure why, but I just felt like I was supposed to. And then, after I put the kit together, I found a book where it was written about the pioneers, and I bought it at Deseret Book, and it said what the pioneers did for emergencies. And it said in there 2 items they could not live without: baking soda and white distilled vinegar. Now, that amazed me, because I thought, what on earth do they need all that for? Until I got me a book, 400 uses of baking soda and 400 uses of white distilled vinegar. And now I know why they felt it was so important. For one thing, if you take a half a cup of baking soda and put it in your laundry, you'll have the cleanest white clothes you can imagine. It's better than bleach, and it doesn't eat your clothes. And then the white distilled vinegar, it's a natural disinfectant, but it won't hurt you if you drink it or have it, ingest it. And I found out that Granite School District cleans their countertops and their floors in their kitchens every single day with white distilled vinegar. I have a sister-in-law that works for the lunchroom program in Granite District, and she told me that they do it because it disinfects and it won't hurt the children if they were to lick the floor or the counter or anything. And so I realized a lot of the things I have in this kit are to help with the smell and the germs. And that really is what sanitation's all about. That's the number one problem we keep hearing. And so after I had been homemaking leader for quite a while, the bishop called me to be emergency preparedness specialist. He said, Lana, you might as well do it because you've been doing it anyway. And so I didn't get a book on what to do. And so I had to study a lot. I read a lot of books on it. I prayed a lot. And I had some really interesting experiences through the things I've learned. But I feel like the biggest thing I've learned is through personal experience. Because whenever I started to wonder about these things, I would have a premonition of what I needed to do. And when I was put in this calling, I sat down one day and I thought, okay, we know, he told us when he talked about Japan's earthquake, you just plan on losing all of your utilities. Doesn't matter what the disaster is. You will lose your utilities. And I thought, okay, what are the things we have to have every day if we don't have our gas and electricity and water and sewer? And I realized it doesn't matter if you live in a tent. You still have to go to the bathroom every day. If you go 72 hours without going to the bathroom, you'll be in the hospital. Because that is just a natural thing we have to do. And then you have to wash your clothes. So here's my washing machine with no power. The toilet plunger is the agitator. And how I came up with this kit was I have a friend who was raised in Heber, and when she was a child, their sewer and water lines broke, and it took her dad 2 months to get the sewer and water lines fixed. So her job was doing the laundry. And basically, you've got a page that tells about, it's called the wash kit, and basically all it is liquid soap. It has to be liquid because powder doesn't dissolve. And then fabric softener, liquid fabric softener, bleach, and clothesline and clothespins, because most likely if we don't have a dryer, how are we going to hang up our clothes? Most of us don't have clotheslines. So it's just a simple little kit anyone could put together. But this friend of mine really told me how strong this worked so well. And it was funny. I went to Home Depot one day and bought about 26 of these plungers. And the lady in Home Depot said to me, "Boy, is your neighborhood backed up? Why do you need that many?" And when I told her what I did with it, she said, "Oh, I do that with my delicate clothes right now. I put them in a bucket and, like her sweaters and her real delicate clothes." She says, "That works. It's really good." And so I think we're learning how we have to be creative and learn new ways. The third kit is a stove. You've got to cook. And so my husband made this little stove out of a 5-gallon metal bucket. It's just like a Dutch oven. It got myself boxed in here so I can't get to it, but you see the rods are where your Dutch oven pan goes. The mesh inside there is where your briquettes go in a circle. The hole down there is where you can start a fire if you need to. You don't have to if you have briquettes. You can just light your briquettes. But it's interesting. We now live in South Jordan, and our stake president called me in one day and asked me, he said, "I want you to come and talk to the High Council and all the bishops. You have 8 minutes to get them excited about emergency preparedness." I thought, 8 minutes? My goodness, what can I say in 8 minutes? But it was really interesting because I told them in 2005, President Gordon B. Hinckley gave a talk on "If you are prepared, you shall not fear." If you remember it. It was a wonderful, powerful talk, and he named 5 things that every family should have. And I thought it was so interesting. I feel like if you don't have those 5 things, you're not obeying the prophet, because I've never heard them get that specific. He said food and water, first aid and medicine, extra cash, and warm winter clothing. Then in the next paragraph, he talked about earthquakes, if you remember. And he said that the church was improving the tabernacle because it needed to be able to withstand the shaking of the earth. Now, if it's not going to shake, we wouldn't need it. So it must mean it's going to shake. So my bishop, where I live now, he said to me, I think the prophet was warning us we're going to have an earthquake. And just the last couple of months, I've had 3 bishops in the stake we work that have told me personally they feel really strong we're going to have an earthquake very soon. And a lot of people are having those feelings. We've been told we're overdue for it. But I know the Lord wants us prepared. I know He wants us to do everything we can. And when we started our mission, we've been on our mission about 10 months. The bishop and stake president, when they set us apart, they told me, Sister Richardson, you are to do this on your mission, emergency preparedness. Many lives will be saved because what you're teaching the people. And you will use what you've learned. And I thought at the time, oh my, how can I do it? But I realized we're not going to be able to spiritually improve ourselves if physically we're not here. So you've got to take care of yourself physically as well as spiritually. And so this is so, so important. But the longer I've studied this, the more I've learned. And it seems like I've just had opportunities where I've met people and learned things that have helped me. How many of you have heard of the Wonder Box? Well, this is my Wonder Box here. I made up the pattern. And what it is, it's a way to cook your food with no fuel. What you do is you bring your food to a boil in this little stove. Then you put it in here, and it's got styrofoam pellets in this bag. There's a page that you've got that talks about the Wonder Box. And right now, this is cooking potatoes. And I have a little cookbook here. Tells about it. And I'll show you this. We put clamps on it because I'm a grandmother and my grandchildren love to lift the lid off. But this is too hot to lift up. It has been cooking for 2 hours, and it is so hot I need a hot pad. You see the steam? Yep. What it is, these little pellets will maintain whatever temperature you put it in. So if you bring it to a boil, it'll maintain that temperature. And I love to use my Wonder Box now. I will put potatoes, bring it to a boil, put it in here, go to church, come home, and the potatoes are done. Or the casserole, or the soup, or whatever. And so you can, well, it's like little bags, 2 little bags, the top and the bottom. And the bottom one is bigger because you need to put the pan down inside. And it shows a picture on there. But what's interesting? It also keeps things frozen. So have you ever thought what you would do with all the things in your freezer if you lose your utilities? That's a lot of food that will be wasted. Well, all you need is Wonder Boxes, and you can put it in there. And I had an experience using the Wonder Box with something cold. A couple years ago, I bought a turkey for Thanksgiving, but I didn't have room in my freezer or fridge. And I thought, oh my, what am I going to do? And then I thought, hey, use your Wonder Box. So I put my frozen turkey in the Wonder Box overnight. In the morning, there was still ice on the turkey. And that was amazing. You can keep ice cream frozen. And what I found out, that the Wonder Box was actually started in Africa. I did a demonstration a couple years ago down in Provo. And a lady came up to me after and she said, oh, I'm so glad you talked about the Wonder Box. She says, we just got home from a mission in Africa, and that's how we cooked our meals every day. The people there are so poor that they dig a pit out in their yard and bring the food to a boil in this pit. Then they take their pan of food, put it in a box with straw and a blanket, and that's how they insulate it, and that's how they keep their food warm. Well, we came up with a Wonder Box that's just made out of 100% cotton. But I am so grateful. I told my husband I need 3 or 4 Wonder Boxes, not just one. But it was interesting when the stake president asked me to talk to all the bishops. He also said, Sister Richardson, I want you to cook a dinner for all the bishops and the High Council using your food storage and using this stove. So I did. We made a dinner. And the biggest comment we got was we couldn't believe the food storage food would taste that good. We made homemade rolls. My assignment was to make homemade rolls, whole wheat rolls, and then peach cobbler on this stove. And then my friend, she made a casserole and some carrots, vegetables, out of a food storage. And it was amazing how good it was. Then the stake president told all of our bishops, okay, now I want you to go back to your wards and have a ward dinner using food storage. And so I thought this was really good. He was very supportive of emergency preparedness things and wanting us to be prepared. So many people have said, oh, we've been told for years and nothing has happened. Well, I read a quote by J. Reuben Clark, Jr., where he said, we've been told for years to get prepared. As a whole, the church has not listened. We will have a disaster, then they will listen, and it will be too late for many. Now that's scary. You know, we don't know when it's going to come, and actually everybody has their own little disasters individually. You can have health problems. We were home from Tonga 6 weeks, and my husband fell on a construction job and broke his back. And I'll tell you, we had $45 in the bank, but we had a lot of food storage. The bishop came to us and said, we'd love to help you if you need help. And I told him, I says, well, if we run out of our food storage, we'll come to you, Bishop, but we've got enough. And he was out of work for 5 months, and we never once had to have help. Well, that was my first little disaster, I feel, because we were blessed, but it was very trying. I mean, it was very scary. But my husband, 10 days after he broke his back, he was teaching the gospel doctrine class. So we were tremendously blessed. But I was so grateful that we were prepared. So after that experience, we had to replenish our food storage because we had used a lot of it. But I learned the importance of being prepared. We don't have to have an earthquake to have a disaster. We could have an accident, an illness. So many different things could be our little disasters. But the important thing is if we are prepared, we don't need to worry. Now, I want to tell you some other things that I've learned. This is my rehydration kit. This is my own personal one. I make them like this and for people. And I just have the 4 items. There's a page called Practical Health Ideas. Anyway, it just has 4 items in it and a paper telling you. But the thing that I learned, and I learned it the hard way, you can drink tons of water and still be dehydrated. You have to balance your electrolytes. That means you've got to have potassium, you've got to have sodium, you've got to have salt, you've got to have sugar. And it's the balance that makes a difference. Just a few weeks ago, I got sick with, I guess it was the flu. And I haven't been sick for a long time. But, I thought, I can't be sick. We have too much we need to do. And then the thought came to me, Lana, you need to fix up a batch of your rehydration formula. So I did. And if you notice on the paper, it says, it gives you the symptoms at the top, and at the bottom it tells you you need 4 cups of water, and you add 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of real salt, because it's a sea salt, which is better for you, and no salt is potassium chloride. A lot of people get dehydrated because they're lacking potassium. I did one demonstration, and a man, I was talking about the rehydration kit, and a man was sobbing in the audience, and after it was over, he came up to me and he said, "You have no idea how inspired you were what you said tonight." He says, "I just got out of the hospital, and I found out they took all these tests, and my bill is $12,000, and all that was wrong with me is I was dehydrated. And now I've got a bill I've got to pay." He says, "If only I would have had your formula." Well, this formula was given to me from a registered nurse at the LDS hospital. And she says, this is the same formula they use in the hospital. And I think it is so important. Anyway, when I got sick a few weeks ago, I mixed up this formula, just those 4 items. It's 1/4 of a teaspoon of the 3 powder and salts, and then the sugar is 2½ teaspoons. I thought, oh, that's probably going to taste salty, but it actually tasted like 2% milk to me. It wasn't a bad taste at all. But you just take a tablespoon every 5 minutes until you start feeling better. Immediately, when I took this formula, when I was sick, I didn't feel like throwing up. I didn't feel sick anymore, and I progressively got better. And someone gave me a book called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Have any of you read that book? It's pretty amazing because it's written by a medical doctor, and he says he believes every sickness starts out with people being dehydrated first. If you don't overcome the dehydration, it will go wherever your weakness is in your body, and everyone's different because some things are hereditary. But he specifically said in his book that he believes that Alzheimer's is caused from being dehydrated. Well, I have a testimony of that because my mother died from Alzheimer's. She had it for 18 years, and she refused to drink water. She said, "No, I don't want to drink water. It makes me have to get up and go to the bathroom too much." So she would refuse to drink it. Well, it was a horrible death. When they get Alzheimer's, they're not themselves. And what he says in this book is the first place that suffers in your body is your brain. If you don't get enough water, your brain is literally fried. And then the next thing is your joints. And he said in this book, if you don't believe me, the next time you have an ache or a pain, you drink 2 8-ounce glasses of water, and I'll bet you start feeling better. And I've tested that out myself, and I know it's true. It's amazing how Heavenly Father created our bodies. He knows what we need. And if we use common sense and we live the word of wisdom and do the things that the Lord has told us we should do, we will be so much healthier. But it's been interesting to me. It seems like every time I have an experience, it's like the Lord thinks, well, I'm going to let Lana be a guinea pig so that she can share what she's learned to other people, because I can stand up here and say, this works and this doesn't because of what I've been through. I found out a few years ago I have diabetes. And this has been a real trial for me. And I know that I wasn't drinking enough water as I was younger. I also know that stress can do a lot for you when you have problems. But it's interesting how as soon as I have realized this and I have improved in making sure I get enough water, my health has improved dramatically. Yes. Well, I got the no salt at Walmart. Yeah, but they don't have the real salt. Yeah, They don't have the real salt. Yeah. But you need to be careful which store you go to, because some stores you'll pay double. And Harmon's and Smith's are, I think, are the best for the real salt, because it's evidently something to do with the balance. And this nurse told me, do not put honey instead of sugar. Some people say, well, I don't want sugar. And she says it won't work if you use honey. You need to use sugar. But it's not enough that it's going to hurt you. And she said, even if you take this formula and you're not dehydrated, it won't hurt you because it's such a small amount. But one way you can test yourself is you just pinch your hand right here, and if it sticks, you're dehydrated. And if you feel really thirsty, you are starting to be dehydrated. There's different levels of being dehydrated. You could be just starting out to be dehydrated. But I think, I don't know, after I've learned about this dehydration, I was so fascinated in reading about Haiti. And you know, everything that happened in Haiti, I think I could relate to a lot of those stories, because in Tonga, the people were that poor. I mean, when we lived there, our house girl, we had a house girl that would help us clean our house, and she would refuse to use hot water because she didn't ever have hot water in her home. And so I would have to do the dishes because all the dishes would be greasy because she would just use cold water. But they just weren't used to it. And it was so good. The church helped those people to learn how to take better care of themselves and help them. But I thought, you know, even with us, we didn't have those. I mean, we have so many more benefits, but we can still have the same problem. I remember when we had been in Tonga for just a week or so, and the bread truck came, and we were so excited. Oh, hot, fresh bread. And so we cut that bread, and I said to my husband, did you get raisin bread? And he said no, and we learned it wasn't raisins in the bread, it was bugs. So from then on, I did not buy bread again. I took my little Tupperware container down to the baker, and I had him grind the wheat, and I made homemade whole wheat bread from then on. But see, it took the boat 6 months to get to Tonga. So by the time the boat got there, there was bugs in the rice, in the flour, you know, and so in the macaroni and everything. I learned, but you know, we didn't throw it away. We had to pick out the bugs because we knew the boat wasn't coming for 6 more months. So it's, you know, people said to me, what is the first thing you want to do when you come home from Tonga? And I said, kiss the ground I walk on, because I am so grateful for the United States of America. And the second thing is I wanted a hamburger and a shake. But it was, I do not regret 1 minute going there. We developed a love for those people that is amazing. Those people are the happiest people I've ever seen, and they're so poor. If it rains or they have a hurricane or a tornado or anything, they just laugh and say, oh, it's okay, tomorrow we'll build a new house. I mean, I've never seen such happy people, and they don't have much. When we went there to Tonga, the average income was $500 a year. So we're very blessed here. Now this, I just wanted to show you these other things that we make. This is just a hygiene kit. Has 6 pockets in it, and it's just a way of organizing what you should be storing in your 72-hour kit. You know, if you want to shampoo your hair or brush your teeth, you don't want to have to look through everything so much. And I think the key in being prepared is being organized, because you don't want to spend hours looking for something. These are the shaking flashlights. I read an email from a girl in Missouri that a few years ago they had a bad winter storm, and she said, I don't care how many flashlights you have, it isn't enough. She said, because when you have to spend 3 hours cooking your dinner, you need a lot of light. And this, some of you probably have even made these 8 hours of heat in a can. And all this is a roll of toilet paper. You take out the cardboard center, and you put a small bottle of, what do you put in it? Alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I'm starting my Alzheimer's moment. Anyway, this really works. I was so amazed. We tried this on our counter right underneath the smoke detector. And the flame is this high, and it lit up the whole room, and it started giving us heat. It's really amazing. But it is such a clean fuel that you can light it in your home. You need a window open for ventilation, but you can still use it at home. And see, this would help give you light. It would help give you warmth. Because if we lose our fuel, how are we going to keep our homes warm? If we can even stay in our home. And then this is just a first aid car kit. It's made with a hot pad. We've made these. And this is a blessing to have just in your car. I was at church one day and one of my friends said, "Lana, do you have a Band-Aid? My husband just cut his finger." And I ran out to the car and I had a Band-Aid in here. It's just good to carry that. When I was put in this call, I asked the people, what do you want more than anything on preparedness? And they all said, we want a book where we can know exactly what to have. And so I wrote this book in 30 days. And what I did is I just went to sources that were professional and got their permission to put this information. But I learned a lot from all the people I talked to. And I had a friend who had been in California's earthquake in 1970s, and she told us that their ward got together and wrote down all the things they wished they would have had on hand because they didn't feel very prepared. The first thing that the Red Cross told us is usually an earthquake happens at like 4 in the morning, so you're home. But this friend of mine, she was so close to where it hit that it shook her bed so much that she literally fell out of bed. She jumped up and heard all this glass breaking. And so she ran to the kitchen and cut her feet. And the Red Cross said that's the biggest injury, is people are cutting their feet if they're at home. And you need to make sure you have a pair of shoes and a flashlight next to your bed at all times. And so at the first of my book, I tell some of the experiences she said. One thing she told me, if you've got food storage in a bottle, you won't lose it if you keep it in a box. But if you leave it loose, it'll most likely fall and break. And she said she had tons of boxes with bottled fruit that she had canned, and she didn't lose anything that was in a box. Plus, if you stack it too high, it can still fall off and, from the shelf. And even those number 10 cans, she said they actually exploded, some of them, because they were so high. And so it's interesting some of the things you learn about being prepared. But you, of course, should store food that you're going to eat. Don't store things that your family hates. I personally love whole wheat bread, and I make it all the time. But a lot of people don't use whole wheat, and if you don't use it and then all of a sudden you start using it, you can get sick. But white wheat is easier to digest than the turkey red hard. In fact, I guess I didn't give a recipe, but I have a recipe using lemon juice to make this whole wheat bread. It's the lightest bread you've ever tasted, and it's as light as white bread. I've had people say to me, "Are you sure this is 100% whole wheat?" And it is. I'm not kidding. It really is light. The lemon juice does everything that dough enhancer does. Only it's, I think, better for you. So, but the thing is, you need to start using it now before you get to the point where you have to use your food storage. You know, if you're storing all this wheat and you can't stand wheat, it's going to be a problem. One of my family's favorite meals is waffles, and I have this really good recipe for 6-grain waffles. And it's so good, and my kids love it and everything. But we've started cooking with that a lot now so that we get used to it. Are there any questions any of you have? No. No, you'd put it out on your patio or something. Inside? Oh dear. No, you've got to be careful because of the fumes and everything. The thing about the can of heat, though, I've had several sources tell me that if you get a number 10 can and make holes in it, put it over this small can, and that can will be your heat. You can cook inside the house with that. But you still need to leave windows open and have a good ventilation and that. But the main thing I like the can of heat is for warmth and light, because I think that's going to be a difficult thing if you have to keep your home lit up. Flashlights just won't last. How much? Oh, how long? 8 hours. And then if the flame goes out, you just add some more alcohol. It doesn't even burn the toilet paper. Yeah. Yeah, if you put the lid back on, it'll take the oxygen away, and so it'll go out. Those cans, you can get at industrial container. They want you to buy a whole case. They don't want you to just buy a can of those. So I buy 56 at a time. But that's okay, because I have so many people that like them. I don't have trouble. It's a good project for a ward to do, too, because you could make those in just a few minutes. It's real easy to make.
You have to have a Dutch oven to sit on that can.
A Dutch oven, too. Oh, a pan? Well, or just a stainless steel. Yeah, just a heavy. Yeah, this one I have in here is just stainless steel, and it's got a glass top. Yeah, but I can use it on this. Yeah, yeah. Now I have Dutch ovens, pans, and I like them because they're heavy, but you don't have to use them. Just a good stainless steel pan. But the main thing I like to stress to people is there's a lot more to being prepared than just having food and water. Because you've got to make sure you don't get dehydrated. You've got to make sure you have sanitation, and you're able to do your laundry. Those are all things that are a must. And so, I think you need to analyze, okay, what have I got? What do I need to get? And I don't think, people should just go out and buy all this stuff at once. No, just do it a little bit at a time, But I'll tell you, if I got a call that we had to leave, say, or if we did have an earthquake, my little porta potty and my rehydration kit would go with me. There's no way I want to stand in line when I need those things, because I know myself and I know what I need, and I just think, it's so important. And I've been reading a lot in the church news as well as the newspaper about the people in these other countries, and they're going through the same thing. It doesn't matter where they live. If you lose your utilities, we're all going to be affected the same way. I mean, I think, in fact, I've never heard anyone else talk about getting dehydration kits or rehydration kits. And I think that is going to save lives. Because if you're not if you don't have a balance with your electrolytes, you can be so sick. People have died from being dehydrated. Yes. You can use it on babies.
On children would be the same dosage?
Yes, because it's such a small amount it wouldn't hurt them.
Did you mention they use like a 4-cup container?
Oh, yeah, I had to show you what I have in mine. The reason I make, this is, if I was to make one of these for everybody, it'd cost so much you wouldn't want it. So, but this is just my own personal one. I have a container that holds 4 cups of water. Then I have, here's the baking soda, the sugar. And then I have measuring spoons. And here's the salt. And this is what no salt looks like. It's in the salt section. It's when doctors put people on a diet using no salt. But just those 4 items, and then I have measuring spoons, and I have a little cup so that I can drink out of it. So all that I need is just some water. And I will carry water with me in bottles. That's one thing the Red Cross said. People should not store everything in one room. You should have a 2-liter bottle of water in every single room of your house. Because wonder if there was an earthquake or something and part of your home was destroyed, or you lost the stairs to your basement and you couldn't get to it. You need to keep things in every room. So that's what I've done. I have a pantry in my kitchen where I keep a lot of my grains, and then I have water in every room. So I really want to stress to you the importance of being prepared. I don't know, you just can't be too prepared, I don't think. You know, some people have said to me, well, do you think we really need a year's supply of food? And I say, no, you need 3. Because you know that we're going to be taking care of others. Because wonder if our home isn't destroyed, but our neighbor's is. How could we say, no, I'm not going to help you? I mean, we're in this together, and we need to help each other. I took a CERT training class when we lived here in this state, and the paramedics said, if there was a natural disaster in this Salt Lake Valley, don't expect help for 2 weeks. Because they have been trained and told they are to go where there's larger populations, like apartment complexes, schools, hospitals. And if they see your home on fire, they will pass up your home because it's just one family. And they have to go where the larger amounts of people are. So in other words, we have to take care of ourselves. And that's really the way it is. I mean, we shouldn't expect others. People have joked with me, well, I know where I'm coming if something happens. I'm coming to your house, Sister Richardson. And I says, well, you have to beat my kids because I know my kids are going to be coming to my door too. But you know, for my children, every year for Christmas, I give my kids a case of food. And last year, or 2 years ago, I said to my kids, I used to give them money for their birthday, but I learned that they just threw the money away doing something fun. So what I started doing is I said, okay, you can either have a case of food or a sleeping bag. Well, now every one of my children and grandchildren have their own sleeping bag. And that's every year. I mean, if you ask my kids, the first year when they got their toilet, they said, boy, Christmas present, we got a toilet. Then they got a stove. But they will be grateful. But you know, just a few months ago, we got a call from our bishop at 8 o'clock in the morning. Our church was at 9, and he says, Sister Richardson, bring 2 of your sanitation kits over to the ward. Our sewer lines just broke, and we cannot use the toilets. And so, you know, you think, oh, a disaster, you need it, but you never know when you're going to have a little disaster. I had a neighbor that her sewer and water lines broke, and for 2 days she had to use the porta potty. She said, oh, I'm so glad I had that. Then I did a demonstration in Parowan a few years ago, and this man bought a sanitation kit. And just a month after my demonstration, he fell and was in an accident, and his leg was cut off. I don't know exactly what the injury, how it happened. But he was so grateful he had that because he could put it right next to his bed. You know, that's his disaster. You know, we don't know what each of our disasters is going to be. But I know our first one was when my husband was out of work for 5 months, and I was so grateful we were prepared. So, if you have any questions or anything after, want to talk to me, I'll be glad to help you. Hi. Yes. Yes. Yes, that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, the thing people need to realize, you need to store your food in a dark, dry, cool place. And you never store anything on concrete. That causes mold to come up. You need to have wood slats is the very best thing. And you think, oh, it's cement, why, you know, but it does. It draws moisture. And so it can be a serious problem if you don't plan ahead. I know the home we live in, we bought it new, and so we had to build our food storage room ourselves. So we took out the window that was in that room because we wanted it dark. And everything's on wood slats. And, you know, we've opened up Permapack cans of wheat that was in 1965, and they're beautiful wheat. But one thing I've learned too about storing in cans, if you store something for a long time in cans, they will get a metal taste to it. And so I asked the people at Bosch, because I've done bread demonstrations for the Bosch people. I love their machines, and I asked them, what do you do if the wheat tastes like metal? And they told me, they said, you don't throw it away, put it in a plastic bucket like these, and use half new wheat and half the old wheat, and you won't even be able to tell the difference. So don't throw it away just because it has that metal taste, because it's still good wheat. But you wouldn't want to eat it if it's got weevil in it. That's true. But it's amazing. Wheat is very, if you have it in the right place, it will last for years and years and years. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a lot the way you store it. I mean, it really is. And you should rotate. You know, every time you use a bottle of something, replace it and go take the other one downstairs or something. You know. I know it's something you have to be concentrating on. But that's all I have to say. I just feel so strong about this. I know the Lord will bless you. If you wonder what you should do, just pray and ask the Lord. He'll direct you.
That's the sanitation kit.
Okay.
The store, would you do something like that?
Janitorial supply store. Yeah.
This is like the stuff.
Bathroom cleaner, same way.
What kinds of things do you say you need to kill?
Oh, it kills, what kind of germs it kills? HIV, germs. Now, I had a lady that said to me, how could that be? And I says, well, they say it on the bottle, it kills HIV germs. And, what? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, HIV, tuberculosis, and salmonella germs it will kill. And it's a strong one. It's a concentrate. You don't need a lot. But you've got to have a cleaner after everyone in the family's used it. One of the pages I have is there's a lady in Canada that had an ice storm for 11 days. And she made a list of all the things she wished she would have had. And it's interesting because she was in her home, but number one was a sanitation kit. Because the pipes were frozen and they couldn't use their toilet. So you can still be in your home and still have problems. Luggable loo is what they call them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I send off to Canada. I just got a shipment in of 250 of them. Loos. Lids. Yeah. Because I've probably made 5,000 sanitation kits since I've been doing this. I've been doing this for 10 years. I was doing this when I lived in this state. My first order was 200 sanitation kits by my ward. So I've been doing this for a long time. I believe it. Well, I believe it. Yeah, and if you keep it in a cool, dry place, that's the key. Okay, thank you.